Hello, if you're alive, if you're still solid, if you haven't melted. We're back. There's more Deathworld in your imminent future. However, I don't have my setup set up because it is so hot that I would die. And we'll see. It might be kind of short today for the same reason. But anyway, if the sound quality is dipping, that's why. My apologies. But I would rather put something out than just not. Also, I can hear my cat yelling at my door. I'm going to let him in and see what happens. Wish me luck. Anyway, we'll get started in like a minute and a half or so. Okay, the cat is in, and we will see how long that lasts. I will give it like less than 5 minutes before he's asking me to let him out. So anyway, and the AC is off because it's just too much background noise. But again, that might mean keeping a little short today. All right, another like 20 seconds because now I have to let the cat back out. Listen, you know how it is. Alright, feline adjustments attended to. Let's get down to business. Alright, Deathworld, Chapter 17. After breakfast, he told Rez that he wanted to return to the city. Then you've seen enough of our barbarian world and wish to go back to your friends? To help them wipe us out, perhaps? Rez said it lightly, but there was a touch of cold malice behind his words. I hope you don't really think that, Jason told him. You must realize that the opposite is true. I would like to see the Civil War ended and your people getting all the benefits of science and medicine that have been withheld. I'll do everything I can to bring that about. It'll never change, Rez said gloomily. So don't waste your time. But there is one thing you must do for your protection and ours. Don't admit or even hint that you've talked to any grubbers. Why not? Why not? Suffering death, are you that simple? They will do anything to see that we don't rise too high and would much prefer to see us all dead. Do you think they would hesitate to kill you if they as much as suspected you had contacted us? They realize, even if you don't, that you can single-handedly alter the entire pattern of power on this planet. The ordinary junk man may think of us as being only one step above the animals, but the leaders don't. They know what we need and what we want. They could probably guess just what it is I'm going to ask you. Help us, Jason dinAlt. Get back among those human pigs and lie. Say you never talked to us, that you hid in the forest, and we attacked you, and you had to shoot to save yourself. We'll supply some recent corpses to make that part of your story sound good. Make them believe you, and even after you think you have them convinced, keep on acting the part, because they will be watching you. Then, tell them you've finished your work and are ready to leave. Get safely off Pyrrus to another planet, and I promise you anything in the universe, whatever you want you shall have. Power, money, anything. This is a rich planet. The junk men mine and sell the metal, but we could do it much better. Bring a spaceship back here and land anywhere on this continent. We have no cities, but our people have farms everywhere. They will find you. We will then have commerce, trade, on our own. This is what we all want, and we will work hard for it, and you will have done it. Whatever you want, we will give. That is a promise, and we do not break our promises. The intensity and magnitude of what he described rocked Jason. He knew that Rez spoke the truth and the entire resources of the planet would be his if he did as he was asked. For 1 second, he was tempted, savoring the thought of what it would be like. Then came realization that it would be a half answer, and a poor one at that. If these people had the strength they wanted, their first act would be the attempted destruction of the city men. The result would be bloody civil war that would probably destroy them both. Rez's answer was a good one, but only half of the answer. Jason had to find a better solution, one that would stop all the fighting on this planet and allow the two groups of humans to live in peace. I will do nothing to injure your people, Rez, and everything in my power to aid them, Jason said. This half-answer satisfied Rez, who could see only one interpretation of it. He spent the rest of the morning on the communicator, arranging for the food supplies that were being brought to the trading site. The supplies are ready, and we have sent the signal, he said. The truck will be there tomorrow, and you will be waiting for it. Everything is arranged as I told you. You'll leave now with Noxa. You must reach the meeting spot before the trucks. Chapter 19. Truck's almost here. You know what to do? Noxa asked. Jason nodded and looked again at the dead man. Some beast had torn his arm off and he had bled to death. The severed arm had been tied into the shirt sleeve, so from a distance it looked normal. Seen close up, this limp arm, plus the white skin and shocked expression on the face, gave Jason an unhappy sensation. He liked to see his corpses safely buried. However, he could understand its importance today. Here they are. Wait until his back's turned, Noxa whispered. The armored truck had 3 powered trailers in tow this time. The train ground up the rock slope and whined to a stop. Cranon climbed out of the cab and looked carefully around before opening up the trailers. He had a lift robot along to help him with the loading. Now! Noxa hissed. Jason burst into the clearing, running, shouting Cranon's name. There was a crackling behind him as 2 of the hidden men hurled the corpse through the foliage after him. He turned and fired without stopping, setting the thing afire in midair. There was the crack of another gun as Cranon fired. His shot jarred the twice-dead corpse before it hit the ground. Then he was lying prone, firing into the trees behind the running Jason. Just as Jason reached the truck, there was a whirring in the air, and hot pain ripped into his back, throwing him to the ground. He looked around as Cranon dragged him through the door, and saw the metal shaft of a crossbow bolt sticking out of his shoulder. Lucky, the Pyrrus said. An inch lower would have got your heart. I warned you about those grubbers. You're lucky to get off with only this. He lay next to the door and snapped shots into the now quiet wood. Taking the bolt out hurt much more than it had going in. Jason cursed the pain as Cranon put on a dressing, and admired the singleness of purpose of the people who had shot him. They had risked his life to make his escape look real, and also risked the chance that he might turn against them after being shot. They did a job completely and thoroughly, and he cursed them for their efficiency. Cranon climbed warily out of the truck after Jason was bandaged. Finishing the loading quickly, he started the train of trailers back toward the city. Jason had an anti-pain shot and dozed off as soon as they started. While he slept, Cranon must have radioed ahead, because Kirk was waiting when they arrived. As soon as the truck entered the perimeter, he threw open the door and dragged Jason out. The bandage pulled, and Jason felt the wound tear open. He ground his teeth together. Kirk would not have the satisfaction of hearing him cry out. I told you to stay in the buildings until the ship left. Why did you leave? Why did you go outside? You talked to the grubbers, didn't you? With each question, he shook Jason again. I didn't talk to anyone. Jason managed to get the words out. They tried to take me. I shot 2, hid out until the trucks came back. Got another one then, Cranon said. I saw it. Good shooting. Think I got some too. Let him go, Kirk. They shot him in the back before he could reach the truck. That's enough explanations, Jason thought to himself. Don't overdo it. Let him make up his mind later. Now's the time to change the subject. There's one thing that will get his mind off of the grubbers. I've been fighting your war for you, Kirk, while you stayed safely inside the perimeter. Jason leaned back against the side of the truck as the other loosened his grip. I found out what your battle with this planet is really about, and how you can win it. Now let me sit down and I'll tell you. More Pyrrans had come up while they talked. None of them moved now. Like Kirk, they stood frozen, looking at Jason. When Kirk talked, he spoke for all of them. What do you mean? Just what I said. Pyrrus is fighting you, actively and consciously. Get far enough out from this city and you can feel the waves of hatred that are directed at it. No, that's wrong. You can't because you've grown up with it. But I can, and so could anyone else with any sort of psi sensitivity. There is a message of war being beamed against you constantly. The life forms of this planet are psi sensitive and respond to that order. They attack and change and mutate for your destruction, and they'll keep on doing so until you're all dead, unless you can stop the war. How? Kirk snapped the word, and every face echoed the question. By finding whoever or whatever is sending that message. The life forms that attack you have no reasoning intelligence. They are being ordered to do so. I think I know how to find the source of these orders. After that, it will be a matter of getting across a message, asking for a truce and an eventual end to all hostilities. A dead silence followed his words as the Pyrrans tried to comprehend the ideas. Kirk moved first, waving them all away. Go back to your work. This is my responsibility, and I'll take care of it. As soon as I find out what truth there is here, if any, I'll make a complete report. The people drifted away silently, looking back as they went. Chapter 20. Yeah, I think we'll do, we'll probably have time for, we'll finish chapter 20. I don't know if we'll do 21. From the beginning, now, Kirk said, and leave out nothing. There's very little more that I can add to the physical facts. I saw the animals, understood the message, I even experimented with some of them, and they reacted to my mental commands. What I must do now is track down the source of the orders that keep this war going. I'll tell you something that I have never told anyone else. I'm not only lucky at gambling, I have enough psi ability to alter probability in my favor. It's an erratic ability that I've tried to improve, for obvious reasons. During the past 10 years, I managed to study at all of the centers that do psi research. Compared to the other fields of knowledge, it is amazing how little they know. The basic psi talents can be improved by practice, and some machines have been devised that act as psionic amplifiers. One of these, used correctly, is a very good directional indicator. You want to build this machine? Kirk asked. Exactly. Build it and take it outside the city in the ship. Any signal strong enough to keep this centuries-old battle going should be strong enough to track down. I'll follow it, contact the creatures who are sending it, and try to find out why they're doing it. I assume you'll go along with any reasonable plan that will end this war. Anything reasonable, Kirk said coldly. How long will it take you to build this machine? Just a few days, if you have all the parts here, Jason told him. Then do it. I'm canceling the flight that's leaving now, and I'll keep the ship here, ready to go. When the machine is built, I want you to track the signal and report back to me. Agreed, Jason said, standing up. As soon as I have this hole in my back looked at, I'll draw up a list of things needed. A grim, unsmiling man named Scop was assigned to Jason as a combination guide and guard. He took his job very seriously, and it didn't take Jason long to realize that he was a prisoner at large. Kirk had accepted his story, but that was no guarantee that he believed it. At a single word from him, the guard could turn executioner. The chill thought hit Jason that undoubtedly this was what would happen. Whether Kirk accepted the story or not, he couldn't afford to take a chance. As long as there was the slightest possibility Jason had contacted the Grubbers, he could not be allowed to leave the planet alive. The Woods people were being simple if they thought a plan this obvious might succeed. Or had they just gambled on the very long chance it might work? They certainly had nothing to lose by it. Only half of Jason's mind was occupied with the work as he drew up a list of materials he would need for the psionic direction finder. His thoughts plodded in tight circles, searching for a way out that didn't exist. He was too deeply involved now to just leave. Kirk would see to that. Unless he could find a way to end the war and settle the grubber question, he was marooned on Pyrrus for life. A very short life. When the list was ready, he called supply. With a few substitutions, everything he might possibly need was in stock and would be sent over. Scop sank into an apparent doze in his chair, and Jason, his head propped against the pull of gravity by one arm, began a working sketch of his machine. Jason looked up suddenly, aware of the silence. He could hear machinery in the building and voices in the hall outside. What kind of silence, then? Mental silence. He had been so preoccupied since his return to the city that he hadn't noticed the complete lack of any kind of psi sensation. The constant wash of animal reactions was missing, as was the vague tactile awareness of his PK. With sudden realization, he remembered that it was always this way inside the city. He tried to listen with his mind and stopped almost before he began. There was a constant press of thought about him that he was made aware of when he reached out. It was like being in a vessel far beneath the ocean, with your hand on the door that held back the frightening pressure. Touching the door, without opening it, you could feel the stresses, the power pushing in and waiting to crush you. It was this way with the psi pressure on the city. The unvoiced, hate-filled screams of Pyrrus would instantly destroy any mind that received them. Some function of his brain acted as a psi circuit breaker, shutting off awareness before his mind could be blasted. There was just enough leak-through to keep him aware of the pressure and supply the raw materials for his constant nightmares. There was only one fringe benefit. The lack of thought pressure made it easier for him to concentrate. In spite of his fatigue, the diagram developed swiftly. Meta arrived late that afternoon, bringing the parts he had ordered. She slid the long box onto the workbench, started to speak, but changed her mind and said nothing. Jason looked up at her and smiled. "Confused?" he asked. "I don't know what you mean," she said. "I'm not confused, just annoyed. The regular trip has been canceled, and our supply schedule will be thrown off for months to come. And instead of piloting a perimeter assignment, all I can do is stand around and wait for you. Then take some silly flight following your directions. Do you wonder that I'm annoyed?" Jason carefully set the parts out on the chassis before he spoke. "As I said, you're confused. I can point out how you're confused, which will make you even more confused. A temptation that I frankly find hard to resist." She looked across the bench at him, frowning, one finger unconsciously curling and uncurling a short lock of hair. Jason liked her this way. As a Pyrrhan operating at full blast, she had as much personality as a gear in a machine. Once out of that pattern, she reminded him more of the girl he had known on that first flight to Pyrrus. He wondered if it was possible to really get across to her what he meant. "I'm not being insulting when I say confused, Meta. With your background, you couldn't be any other way. You have an insular personality. Admittedly, Pyrrus is an unusual island with a lot of high-power problems that you are an expert at solving. That doesn't make it any less of an island. When you face a cosmopolitan problem, you are confused. Or even worse, when your island problems are put into a bigger context. That's like playing your own game, only having the rules change constantly as you go along." "You're talking nonsense," she snapped at him. "Pyrrus isn't an island, and battling for survival is definitely not a game." "I'm sorry," he smiled. "I was using a figure of speech, and a badly chosen one at that. Let's put the problem on more concrete terms. Take an example. Suppose I were to tell you that over there, hanging from the doorframe, was a stingwing." Meta's gun was pointing at the door before he finished the last word. There was a crash as the guard's chair went over. He had jumped from a half-doze to full alertness in an instant, his gun also searching the doorframe. "That was just an example," Jason said. "There's really nothing there." The guard's gun vanished, and he scowled a look of contempt at Jason, as he righted the chair and dropped into it. You both have proved yourselves capable of handling a Pyrrhan problem, Jason continued. But what if I said that there is a thing hanging from the doorframe that looks like a stingwing, but is really a kind of large insect that spins a fine silk that can be used to weave clothes? The guard glared from under his thick eyebrows at the empty doorframe. His gun whined partway out, then snapped back into the holster. He growled something inaudible at Jason, then stamped into the outer room, slamming the door behind him. Meta frowned in concentration and looked puzzled. It couldn't be anything but a stingwing, she finally said. Nothing else could possibly look like that. And even if it didn't spin silk, it would bite you if you got near, so you would have to kill it. She smiled with satisfaction at the indestructible logic of her answer. Wrong again, Jason said. I just described the mimic spinner that lives on Stover's planet. It imitates the most violent forms of life there, does such a good job that it has no need for any other defense. It'll sit quietly on your hand and spin for you by the yard. If I dropped a shipload of them here on Pyrrus, you could never be sure when to shoot, could you? But they are not here now, Meta insisted. Yet they could be, quite easily, and if they were, all the rules of your game would change. Getting the idea now? There are some fixed laws and rules in the galaxy, but they're not the ones you live by. Your rule is war unending with the local life. I want to step outside your rulebook and end that war. Wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't you like an existence that was more than just an endless battle for survival? A life with a chance for happiness, love, music, art, all the enjoyable things you've never had time for before. All the Pyrrhan sternness was gone from her face as she listened to what he said, letting herself follow these alien concepts. He had put his hand out automatically as he talked, and had taken hers. It was warm, and her pulse fast to his touch. Meta suddenly became conscious of his hand and snapped hers away, rising to her feet at the same time. As she started blindly towards the door, Jason's voice snapped after her. The guard, Scop, ran out because he didn't want to lose his precious two-value logic. It's all he has. But you've seen other parts of the galaxy, Meta. You know there is a lot more to life than kill and be killed on Pyrrus. You feel it is true, even if you won't admit it. She turned and ran out of the door. Jason looked after her, his hand scraping the bristle on his chin thoughtfully. Meta, I have the faint hope that the woman is winning over the Pyrrhan. I think that I saw, perhaps for the first time in the history of this bloody war-torn city, a tear in one of its citizens' eyes. Alright, I think we got time for one more, but I need a short break. All right. Last chapter of the day. Chapter 21. Drop that equipment and Kirk will undoubtedly pull both of your arms off, Jason said. He's over there now, looking as sorry as possible that I ever talked him into this. Scop cursed under the bulky mass of the psi detector, passing it up to Meta, who waited in the open port of the spaceship. Jason supervised the loading and blasted all the local life that came to investigate. Horn devils were thick this morning, and he shot 4 of them. He was last aboard and closed the lock behind him. Where are you going to install it? Meta asked. You tell me, Jason said. I need a spot for the antenna where there will be no dense metal in front of the bowl to interfere with the signal. Thin plastic will do, or if worst comes to worst, I can mount it outside the hull with a remote drive. You may have to, she said. The hull is an unbroken unit. We do all viewing by screen and instruments. I don't think... Wait, there is one place that might do. She led the way to a bulge in the hull that marked one of the lifeboats. She went in through the always open lock, Scop struggling after them with the apparatus. These lifeboats are half buried in the ship, Meta explained. They have transparent front ports covered by friction shields that withdraw automatically when the boat is launched. Can we pull the shields back now? I think so, she said. She traced the launching circuits to a junction box and opened the lid. When she closed the shield relay manually, the heavy plates slipped back into the hull. There was a clear view, since most of the viewport projected beyond the parent ship. Perfect, Jason said. I'll set up here. Now, how do I talk to you in the ship? Right here, she said. There's a pre-tuned setting on this communicator. Don't touch anything else, and particularly not this switch. She pointed to a large pole handle set square into the center of the control board. Emergency launching. 2 seconds after that is pulled, the lifeboat is shot free. And it so happens this boat has no fuel. Hands off for sure, Jason said. Now have Husky there run me in a line with the ship's power, and I'll get this stuff set up. The detector was simple, though the tuning had to be precise. A dish-shaped antenna pulled in the signal for the delicately balanced detector. There was a sharp fall-off on both sides if the input so direction could be precisely... I'm going to try that again. There was a sharp fall-off on both sides of the input so direction could be precisely determined. The resulting signal was fed to an amplifier stage. Unlike the electronic components of the first stage, this one was drawn in symbols on white paper. Carefully glued-on input and output leads ran to it. When everything was ready and clamped into place, Jason nodded to Meta's image on the screen. Take her up, and easy, please. None of your 9G specials. Go into a slow circle around the perimeter until I tell you differently. Under steady power, the ship lifted and grabbed for altitude, then eased into its circular course. They made 5 circuits of the city before Jason shook his head. The thing seems to be working fine, but we're getting too much noise from all the local life. Get 30 kilometers out from the city and start a new circuit. The results were better this time. A powerful signal came from the direction of the city, confined to less than a degree of thin arc. With the antenna fixed at a right angle to the direction of the ship's flight, the signal was fairly constant. Meta rotated the ship on its main axis until Jason's lifeboat was directly below. Going fine now, he said. Just hold your controls as they are and keep the nose from drifting. After making a careful mark on the setting circle, Jason turned the receiving antenna through 180 degrees of arc. As the ship kept to its circle, he made a slow, collecting sweep of any signals beamed at the city. They were halfway around before he got a new signal. It was there, all right. Narrow, but strong. Just to be sure, he let the ship complete 2 more sweeps, and he noted the direction on the gyro compass each time. They coincided. The 3rd time around, he called to Meta. Get ready for a full right turn, or whatever you call it. I think I have our bearing. Get ready. Now! It was a slow turn, and Jason never lost the signal. A few times it wavered, but he brought it back on. When the compass settled down, Meta pushed on more power. They set their course towards the native Pyrrus. An hour's flight at close to top atmospheric speed brought no change. Meta complained, but Jason kept her on course. The signal never varied and was slowly picking up strength. They crossed the chain of volcanoes that marked the continental limits, the ship bucking in the fierce thermals. Once the shore was behind and they were over water, Scop joined Meta in grumbling. He kept his turret spinning, but there was very little to shoot at this far from land. When the islands came over the horizon, the signal began to dip. Slow now, Jason called. Those islands ahead look like our source. The continent had been here once, floating on Pyrrus's liquid core. Pressures changed, land masses shifted, and the continent had sunk beneath the ocean. All that was left now of the teeming life of that landmass was confined to a chain of islands, once the mountain peaks of the highest range of mountains. These islands, whose sheer sides rose straight from the water, held the last inhabitants of the lost continent, the weeded-out descendants of the victors of uncountable violent contests. Here lived the oldest native Pyrrans. Come in lower, Jason signaled. Towards that large peak. The signals seemed to originate there. They swooped low over the mountain, but nothing was visible other than the trees and sun-blasted rock. The pain almost took Jason's head off, a blast of hatred that drove through the amplifier and into his skull. He tore off the phones and clutched at his skull between his hands. Through watering eyes, he saw the black cloud of flying beasts hurtle up from the trees below. He had a single glimpse of the hillside beyond before Meta blasted power to the engines and the ship leapt away. "We found them!" Her fierce exultation faded as she saw Jason through the communicator. "Are you all right? What happened?" "Feel burned out. I felt a psi blast before, but nothing like that. I had a glimpse of an opening. Looked like a cave mouth just before the blast hit. Seemed to come from there." "Lie down," Meta said. "I'll get you back as fast as I can. I'm calling ahead to Kirk. He has to know what happened." A group of men were waiting in the landing station when they came down. They stormed out as soon as the ship touched, shielding their faces from the still hot tubes. Kirk burst in as soon as the port was cracked, peering around until he spotted Jason stretched out on an acceleration couch. "Is it true?" he barked. "You've traced the alien criminals who started this war?" "Slow, man, slow," Jason said. "I've traced the source of the psi message that keeps your war going. I found no evidence as to who started this war, and certainly wouldn't go so far as to call them criminals." "I'm tired of your wordplay," Kirk broke in. "You found the creatures, and their location has been marked." "On the chart," Meta said. "I could fly there blindfolded." Fine, Kirk said, rubbing his hands together so hard they could hear the harsh rasp of the calluses. "It takes a real effort to grasp the idea that after all these centuries, the war might be coming to an end. But it's possible now. Instead of simply killing off these self-renewing legions of the damned that attack us, we could get to the leaders, search them out, carry the war to them for a change, blast their stain from the face of this planet." "Nothing of the sort," Jason said, sitting up with an effort. "Nothing doing. Since I came to this planet, I've been knocked around and risked my life 10 times over. Do you think I have done this just to satisfy your bloodthirsty ambitions? It's peace I'm after, not destruction. You promised to contact these creatures, attempt to negotiate with them. Aren't you a man of honor who keeps his word?" "I'll ignore the insult, though I'd have killed you for it at any other time," Kirk said. "You've been of great service to our people. We are not ashamed to acknowledge an honest debt. At the same time, do not accuse me of breaking promises that I never made. I recall my exact words. I promised to go along with any reasonable plan that would end this war. That is just what I intend to do. Your plan to negotiate a peace is not reasonable. Therefore, we are going to destroy the enemy." "Think first," Jason called after Kirk, who had turned to leave. "What's wrong with trying negotiation, or an armistice? Then if that fails, you could try your way." The compartment was getting crowded as other Pyrrans pushed in. Kirk, almost to the door, turned back to face Jason. "I'll tell you what's wrong with armistice," he said. "It's a coward's way out, that's what it is. It's all right for you to suggest it. You're from off-world. You don't know any better. But do you honestly think I could entertain such a defeatist notion for even one instant? When I speak not only for myself, but for all of us here. We don't mind fighting, and we know how to do it. We know that if this war was over, we could build a better world. At the same time, if we have the choice of continued war or cowardly peace, we vote for war. This war will only be over when the enemy is utterly destroyed." The listening Pyrrans shouted in agreement, and when Kirk pushed out through the crowd, some of them patted his shoulder as he went by. Jason slumped back on the couch, worn out by his exertions and exhausted by the attempt to win the violent Pyrrans over to a peaceful point of view. When he looked up, they were gone, all except Meta. She had the same look of bloodthirsty elation as the others, but it drained away when she glanced at him. "What about it, Meta?" he asked bitterly. "No doubts? Do you think that destruction is the only way to end this war?" "I don't know," she said. "I can't be sure. For the first time in my life, I find myself with more than one answer to the same question." "Congratulations," he said. "It's a sign of growing up." Alright, we'll stop there for now. I am going to blast my AC and stand in front of it for like a solid 5 minutes. Thanks for hanging out, as always, and thanks to Aindulmedir for the use of his tunes. Today, actually as most days, we listened to the Lunar Lexicon. Find him on Spotify or Bandcamp. He's got 3 albums out, and they're all excellent. So go give him some love. And I'll see you later this week. I don't know, Monday maybe if it's not still super hot. Another day if not. But either way, see you soon and take it easy.